Okay, guys. Welcome to the Warrant Finance Committee meeting, May 7th at 6 p.m. I would like to welcome the school committee and John Ross and Kim Oliver to the meeting. Excuse me. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to look over the school warrant. I got no idea. They want to know if I want some medical insurance or something. Sorry about that. I hope anybody's had a chance to look over the warrant. We've had it for quite a while now. The numbers haven't changed. The school committee adopted this back in March. I'd like to ask if anybody has any questions on the warrant itself.
There isn't any questions, but can I just make one comment?
Yeah.
When we proofed everything, there was one article, that Article 15.
Yeah, we fixed that. The mailing had just gone out since then. The mailing went out, and then we got the email later that morning. So it has been fixed.
Yeah, it's been fixed. I just wanted to just let them know. Now their copy, does it have the one before it was fixed?
Yeah, they have before it was fixed. So the night before, when everybody said it was okay, we mailed it the next morning, and then your email came in. So their number and your recommendation is incorrect.
Right.
So will we just, when we get to that article, will we make the change then?
Yeah, and we've already made it on the master, but we had already physically mailed them copies.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We were trying
Thank
to
you.
make sure they'd have it in their
Okay.
hands for this meeting.
Yeah, it's just.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Just to make sure that the number that's in the article matches the recommendation, that's all.
Right.
The article.
What is that, Kim? Article 15, you said?
Yeah. So if you read the article, in the article, the amount is correct.
Yeah.
And that number should be the same in the school committee recommendation, so.
So it should be 544, not 244.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Other than that, everything else is fine.
Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Seems to be no questions on the school warrant. I would like to ask for unanimous consent to vote on Articles 5 through 22.
So moved, and we recommend adoption of the school committee's recommendation.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
So all in favor, we're going to do a roll call vote. So everybody will have to say yes or no. Just give me a second here. I'm just trying to think of everybody's names. Marnie, Murray,
Yes.
John Gore,
Aye.
David Winchell,
Aye.
Virginia Shea,
Yes.
Roland Waterhouse.
Dennis Long.
Rollin Waterhouse, how you doing, buddy?
I'm here, and the answer is yes.
And so it's unanimous vote to approve the school committee warrant, the recommendations of the school committee. I'm sorry, to approve the recommendations of the school committee. I appreciate the ones that are disappointed that I made this meeting so short. I know you'd all love to sit and listen to me talk a lot more. But, I do appreciate the work of the school committee and the superintendent and Kim. Everything's been very transparent, very clear. And I had a good conversation with John yesterday about the warrant, and I'm glad to have this part behind us. And I thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dennis.
Not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll
I'd
withdraw
rather
that.
not. We haven't yet received the town warrant and I'm just going to give my opinion here, and this has nothing to do with any of the problems we might have had tonight. I'm not a big fan of doing business this way. The governor is, hopefully, as of right now anyway, lifting some of the restrictions for June. And hopefully, is my opinion anyway, that when we start meeting on the municipal warrant, we'll be able to meet at the table with each other. And we'll see what happens, but that's my thought, and I don't know what rest of the committee thinks about it, and I would ask Tom what he thinks about it.
Well, I think obviously a face-to-face meeting is much more desirable than this, where we can have all participants and the public can have access to the meeting. That's the purpose of this. We're representing the town meeting, and the town meeting should be able to participate and we should be able to talk with members of any member of the town meeting who wishes to address Warrant and Finance.
Thank you, Tom. Arnie?
Well, I would like that thing, but I think that the maximum we can have in a meeting,
Can't mute them in the meeting.
according to the rules we have right now, is you could have a meeting, but it's limited to 10 people.
Right. But it changes in June, which is only in 3 weeks.
Presumably.
May I interject here that meeting is limited if we cannot provide the separation required or recommended and other certain restrictions we can have.
Right. We'll have to see, Tom, what the governor,
Right. I think that's
what the governor does and play it by ear. Tucker, what's your thoughts? Can you hear me, Tucker?
Oh, yes. Yep.
What's your thoughts, Tucker?
It's kind of not really a decision for us to make, I guess, without knowing what the governor's going to do in the next couple months.
No, I appreciate that, Tucker, but I mean, what's your thoughts? Which way you'd rather be doing it?
Oh, obviously, I'd rather be doing it face to face.
Okay. Virginia?
Zoom only for last resort, if there's no other option.
Oh, goodness. Roland,
Yes.
what's your
would-
thoughts on it?
What would you like to know?
What's your thoughts on doing stuff on Zoom, or would you rather wait, see what the governor has to say and set up a meeting so we can sit at a table in a public meeting?
Public meeting and face-to-face meeting is obviously preferential.
Yeah.
I don't have any objections to meeting wherever and whenever.
Yeah.
Limitation being, how many people can we have around, and go from there.
Right. So I don't think I forgot anybody.
Dave Winchell.
Dave Winchell, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, David.
Oh, I don't know. It's I guess it's on the table. I don't know what's going on first, no matter what the governor says, But because it's a lot better to see face to face, there's no doubt.
All right. So you hear all that, Ed? Okay. And we're going to have some discussions on how we're moving forward with the rest of the warrant. Anyway, we got to meet with department heads and different things. So what I'd like to do is at some point have a conversation with you, Jen, because we run all the meeting schedules through you anyway. We'll have that conversation in the future, see how we're going to move forward with everything else. Okay?
May I say something?
Yes.
So the Board of Selectmen went through their warrant on Wednesday, their town warrant on Wednesday. As some of you may know, they are meeting with the road commissioners on Friday to pretty much answer the last of the couple of questions, but they gave the treasurer and I direction on what was going to be consolidated, what wasn't, what they were doing with social services, what they weren't. So the warrant is, all but one article is done. So, I mean, I understand full-heartedly that the Warrant and Finance would rather meet face-to-face. Right now, the governor is saying 10 people in May and June. As I understand it, and I would hope that we'll unmute Ed and he can say something. But we're kind of hoping that you'll go ahead and schedule your next meeting and start working on the town articles. If you would like department heads there, certainly we'll have them ready. But I mean, am I hearing you say that you want to wait until June? I mean, June is still 10 people unless the restrictions change. And we got very clear, if you read the executive orders, it references conference rooms, gymnasiums. Even if we socially distance, we cannot have more than 10 people in a room.
So then I wouldn't be opposed to having a meeting outside. Sure.
It's a gathering of more than 10. So our desire is from the Board of Selectmen.
I don't believe that, Ed.
Okay, well, that's up to you. Our desire is to have the warrant done for next week so we can approve it and sign off on the warrant and have it all ready. Pass it on to you folks so we can move forward with the election on July 14th.
Right, so we have until the end of June to get everything all done.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that gives us 14 days. And you guys are still planning on moving forward with a secret ballot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's your intention.
That's our intention, yes.
And I just want to point out, Jonathan just texted me, and thank you for that. So I guess the number does go up to 50 in June, so that's my mistake. I thought it was still 10. But nevertheless, the absentee ballots have to be available by June 13th, 30 days before the election. We have to have 2 public hearings, and we have to have time to prepare the ballot. So if you wait until June, when 50 people can get in a room together to start on the town recommendations, we're never going to be able to have the ballot done in time to get absentee ballots out.
Right.
According to the law. I mean, the law says 30 days before the election.
I'd have to look at the calendar, Jen. I mean, so we'd have to have everything. If we did everything the first week in June.
Not enough time.
What do you mean it's not enough time? It gives you a whole week.
We're sending the ballots out to an outside company to print them so that we can use the DS-200 to print the ballots and be able to count them. It would be different if we were making them in-house because, yes, we could say, you know, on Sundays, you know, we could work the 2 weekends in June and photocopy them and fold them. But in order to send them out to get them, you know, printed by the actual printing company so that they can be read on that DS-200, I mean, we've got a deadline that's closer to the end of May. The idea behind the Warrant and Finance meeting as early as tonight was, today's the 7th. I mean, can we go ahead and schedule the next meeting so that you can start looking at the town articles? But I guess I'm hearing that the Warrant and Finance won't meet via Zoom to look at the town Warrant and Finance, the town articles. Is that kind of the direction?
Dennis, may I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Number
Go ahead,
one, when can the committee expect to receive the warrant?
You'll have it in your hands by Monday.
Okay, so now we're talking, we have a date for
Monday the 11th.
something for, you know, people to be able to look at.
Okay.
As it stands right now, people really don't know exactly what's going to be on the warrant and how it's going to be worded, etc. I personally would like to have, I don't know, 4 or 5 days to, you know, chew through it on my own before I sit down and meet. And I don't care if it's by Zoom or if it's in a field.
We cannot gather. You can't have a public gathering in the month of May where more than 10 people can go. It's an illegal. I mean, it's an executive order by the governor. I'm not saying that any of us agree with it, but we just can't do it.
I'm not saying that I want to have it in a field. What I'm saying is I don't care, okay? I just want to have a few days after I receive the warrant so that I can digest what it is, what it says, etc. And, you know, if I have any questions, I can, you know, put the questions together so that when we meet, and I would say that, you know, we need to have it, you know, if what's today, the 7th?
Right.
So here's an idea. What if, and I'm just going to bring Michelle into this. So I don't see, Ed, why, Michelle, join me for a second. I don't see why we can't release the warrant to the Warrant and Finance Committee with one article grayed out. I mean, that if because we could release it to them via email tonight.
Right.
I mean, more than half of it's housekeeping that they see every year. If we keep the one road article out and we gave it to you tonight, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, there's your 4 or 5 days to just kind of look at it before you have to get together. And then by, you know, Monday or Tuesday, you can schedule a meeting to start talking about it and see which department heads you want to meet with. The warrant is done except for one article.
Right. Yeah, we went over that. We went over the warrant last night, so everything is all set from our side except for that one article. So I don't see why it couldn't be released.
Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as emailing it, I don't have a live copy at home. You could send that,
I can do it.
Jen?
Yep.
And it would be, I wouldn't be able to send the budget to go along with it, the itemized budget until tomorrow, but yeah.
I mean, would that be helpful?
Absolutely. Dennis, would you have any objections if we have the warrant, say in the next day or so, either email or, you know, through the town server, whatever, so that we can print it off and actually have it to digest and review? Would you have any objections to doing a meeting next Friday?
I think we'd have next week to look everything over. The way the selectmen have chosen to consolidate some of the articles, it's going to take a lot more time to get your head wrapped around some of it. We're going to have to, I'd be willing to meet on the following Monday, a week from Monday.
I can live with that.
I would rather keep our meetings on Mondays anyway. That's what we decided we were going to try to do. And then we'll just decide. There's a lot of things that we have to talk about with different departments. There's a lot of social services issues. And I can see us having our workshops with the road commissioners and the rec and the fire department and the selectmen and things like that. It's surely going to take a lot longer to go through this stuff over Zoom. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I still think that it's going to be at least the first week in June before we make our final recommendations. You're only talking 2 or 3 weeks here for us to go through everything before June, and that isn't enough time. It just isn't.
Dennis, Dennis,
Go ahead, Connie.
what about, we can have a meeting of just the committee. And if, once we have the warrant, we could go through every line item and pick out the ones that we want to discuss that we have problems with, and then contact the department that we have a question about their budget, and then have them come in, and we won't be over the 10 people.
The meeting has to be open to the public, so we can't do that. Because if the 10th person walks in the hall, then we have to cancel the meeting. So even if you may only invite, you know, the town clerk because you have questions on that budget, it's still open to the public, and public has to be able to come and attend.
So basically what they're to the rest of the committee, the Warrant and Finance Committee, is basically you're not going to have a face-to-face meeting. It ain't going to work.
Not in May. I don't know how we can legally based on what May Municipal is telling us. I mean, he's pointing out the key words of the conference room. I mean, those words are in the executive order. This is not something we're deciding. And he's telling us, as registrar, these are punishable by jail time. I mean, whether we agree with them or not, we can't have a meeting with more than 10 people.
Why can't you have a meeting in the town hall with your Warrant and Finance and Zoom in the rest of the people? Just like you're sitting there, Jen, I could see 2 people behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't, how many, what are they, 6 members or whatever, plus you, and you lock the doors and
You can't.
Zoom
It's a
in.
public meeting. You can't lock the
No,
door
but
in a public meeting.
They could Zoom in on their cell phone.
The board would have to get legal advice on that. I mean, if it's a public meeting, the doors can't be locked. But I mean, that's, I'm gonna have to go to David and Ed, and Kim's not able to make us. I mean, if the Warrant and Finance absolutely will not meet via Zoom, you guys have a whole nother issue on your hands. I don't know what to tell you.
So,
May I make one comment?
Go ahead, Tom.
I wish to inform some or remind others, as the case may be, that for 160 years, the town operated on a calendar year, and we had our town meeting in March. In other words, we were 3 months into the fiscal year when we had our town meeting. That was perfectly legal then, and it is perfectly legal now. The only things we have to do is to authorize the selectmen or give them the authority to spend, as legislation has been recently written. They already have it, because they've had it in the past, and we grant to the selectmen the authority to borrow on tax anticipation notes should that be necessary to cover any break. We do set the date that we collect taxes. That's all. It's there, and it solves all of this, but I will leave it up to you. That is the way we did business for 160 years, and it worked well.
Thank you, Tom. I guess my thing is, Jen, this isn't anything that the Warrant and Finance Committee brought up on themselves. This is something the change on the way we're, doing the government process. The selectmen decide to change the way we're doing decisions.
The COVID-19 changed the way we're doing business, not the selectmen.
It's not the
They're not doing this by choice, Dennis. The governor is telling us we cannot have meetings. Our attorneys are telling us not to commit taxes on this year's revenues.
That's just their suggestion.
Listen.
It's what our attorney says, it's what we're going to do.
We had to do things secret ballot.
Okay.
But it's suggestion.
The governor did not say that. This is something that the selectmen chose to do. And so it's on the selectmen if the time frame thing doesn't work. It's not on the Warrant and Finance Committee. We're going to do the best we can do, and having warrants all approved by the Warrant Finance meeting the first week is not, it to me is reasonable. I honestly believe it is, and you're going to have those things printed out so you can send them out. Then tell the printer that you have to have this done by this date.
Sure. I'll discuss it with the board. I got it.
I mean, we've already been through the process of the authority of the Warrant and Finance Committee. They're accountable to the town meeting, and that's it. You guys got that from MMA, and I'm trying to work with everybody, but it seems like sometimes it's a one-way working relationship, and I don't think it's unreasonable to do what the Warrant Finance Committee wants to do.
So you believe you can have all of the recommendations by, did you have a date, Dennis?
Without a calendar in front of me, no, but it'd be the first week in June, Jen. Whatever that Friday would be. If we have to meet every night, then we meet every night.
So the first Friday in June is the soonest. Is that a consensus with the Warrant and Finance that you guys won't have recommendations until the first Friday in June?
That's June 5th.
June 5th?
Yep, it's the first Friday.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Dennis.
I said as long as the first day in June isn't the first Friday in June.
Okay. Now, I think, how many days are in June? I just want to make sure I have it worded correctly when I email the
June
attorneys,
1st
basically.
is a Monday.
Okay, so the
Friday.
1st is a Monday. Friday is the 5th.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So to the selectmen, and we can talk about this more on Wednesday, we will, we'll find out what the deadline to the printer is. If we miss the deadline, we will get legal advice as to whether or not you can put not available at the time of printing legally on there based on the amount of time you've given them, or we can hand count all 70 questions and not go through the DS 200.
I'm not willing to not, they need to go through the machine.
Well, we may not have that right. I mean, this is a printing company out of the state. It's not something local. It's a special person.
I realize
Okay.
that.
I will try to get some information tomorrow.
Yep, count back the days
you
and
know,
see where we sit.
Okay.
As you know, legally, you have to have Warrant Finance Committee's recommendation on the warrant.
On the warrant. And they will be on the warrant. There's no doubt about them being on the warrant because the warrant has to be posted 7 days before the meeting, the election. So they'll definitely be on the warrant.
It'll be on what we're voting on, what you guys plan on voting on July 15th, correct?
I'm going to pull up the ordinance and look at it. I mean, there's a difference between the recommendations have to be on the warrant because they will be. There's no question about that. Then does the recommendation have to be on the ballot? So that's something we have to look into. I don't have the answer right off.
Well, regardless of what the ordinance says, state law says.
They'll be on the warrant.
They have to be. I don't know, when people are looking at the articles to vote on them, the ballots or whatever you want to call it, it'd be nice if they could see the recommendations of the school committee and the Warrant Finance Committee.
And the selectmen absolutely want that, and that was why we asked you to shorten up the time frame and to have the meeting. I mean, ideally, if we could have the warrant to you tonight and you had it by Monday, why can't we call 1 or 2 meetings next week? Why can't we just start moving on these articles? If you have it in your possession by the end of the night, you have until Monday or Tuesday, call a meeting for next Tuesday, maybe a Tuesday and a Thursday. Let's start working on the warrant articles and bringing in any department heads that you want to meet with. I mean, it's still 3 weeks. We could still make the end of the month deadline if you wanted to meet a couple of times a week. I mean, these are extraordinary circumstances that none of us have been in before. It's certainly not something any of us want to do.
I appreciate that, yeah, but extraordinary circumstances is due to a decision the selectmen made.
Okay.
Okay, they could have had the town meeting in August, September, October, November. And they chose not to, so they're the ones that added to the extenuating circumstances, is my whole point.
Okay, I hear you.
I will meet with people, departments, and say, whatever the rest of the committee wants to do. But I am not willing to take a vote on the warrant without the public's input.
The public can join these meetings and give you input.
But I can't have 30 people here doing it like this. It just isn't going to work.
So your goal either way is to have at least 1 meeting in June where we can have we can have up to 50 people and have them come to that.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to step away. I think I hear his direction clear. It looks like David wants to.
It's going to have to be available on Zoom as well, because I'm not going to the meeting. So I need access.
That's up to you, Ed.
Yep.
You guys can film it live.
So I can't.
I don't can film it and put it out on channel 26.
I don't get channel 26.
Oh. Yeah, watch it on YouTube then.
Standing.
Is that it for everybody?
No, hold on a minute.
Yeah, go ahead, Ani.
On March 18th, there was a special omnibus bill passed for the governor, and they set down what the elections could be. And if you, I think I sent that to you. It's House Bill LD 2167. It's 20 pages long. But in there, it tells you about, sets the thing up where you can go and use last year's budget, and you can okay the budget, and you can continue paying. You wouldn't have to change anything. You don't have to go through this. You're only going through this because you want to change the warrant. And the voting on April 27th, on the Maine municipal letter that was sent out, it says in here that they have 4 proposals. This is a letter to Janet Mills. And in it, it says here, we have 4 proposals for your consideration, which are listed in order of preference. Absentee ballot only referendum, secret ballot process for all during the June with in-person voting at polls allowed, declare town meetings essential, and you waive the gathering of 10 people or more. Or the 4th one is suspend the town meeting until July 14th. At the end of this letter that they sent to the governor, it says, if you have any questions about our proposals and need additional information, please do not hesitate to call Kate Dufour at Maine Municipal. Sue Pilgrim's also available for helping you draft implementing legislation should you decide to authorize alternative conducts for town meetings. The day after that Kate Dufour wrote that letter, she also was on Maine Public Radio. And then here they asked her a question about the suggestions, and she said, yeah, we've been very fortunate that the government has basically opened up a line of communication, and we meet or talk weekly with the members of her administration about issues that affect municipal officials. So we are keeping Governor Mills apprised through her staff to some of the changes that could be used. So the kind of issue, the issue kind of is whether or not she actually has the authority under the emergency orders she's been using to make these changes. So it's not even clear whether the changes that Maine Municipal will be enacted by legislation. The legislature adjourned on the 18th of March, and they did it sine die, meaning everything is done. They're not so the chances of some of this stuff being enacted as law might never happen. Has anybody seen a statute from the state that says that you can have what we're proposing to do? Anybody seen state law?
Have seen nothing, Arnie. However, there also hasn't been any response from the governor to this letter that was drafted by MMA. So we don't know whether the governor is actually considering any of these options or not.
I know, that's what I'm getting at. I just don't know where we're at with this whole process. Everything is screwed up, and I don't blame anybody. It's just, I don't know whether you can, you know, the legislature passed the law, and I don't know if the governor can change the law.
One of the things that Maine Municipal said to us when we went through this is that, as you know, the Board of Selectmen have called secret ballot referendums in the past. We vote on a marijuana question, we vote on a sex offender ordinance. There are certain things that are by secret ballot. Pursuant to Section 2528, the Board of Selectmen have the right to call a secret ballot anytime there's a town meeting. So this change that they're doing based on the recommendations of the attorney, because of the amount of people that can legally gather, is something that they already had the authority to do. Now, your treasurer can tell you that the biggest reason, because we know the budget, the tax rate is staying the same. We have flatlined everybody. There's not a raise being given out. We've done everything we can to flatline this tax rate. The reason that having a town meeting, that they're saying it's so important, is because A, we don't know if August, September, October, we're going to be able to even have more people in there, depending on what happens with this. B, if the paving money is passed, the road guys want to pave now in summer. And C, the biggest thing is because of the loss of revenues. If we continue operating or we commit taxes based on last year's revenues, the town of Acton is going to be in trouble. That's the direction from all of these attorneys. I just can't stress it enough that nobody in this circle wants to vote on this by secret ballot or take anybody's right away. We have literally combined maybe 3 articles, maybe 5 tops, Michelle, and they were ones like the tax rate day and prepayment of taxes. We didn't combine anything out of the ordinary. It's going to look the exact same way. You're just going to be voting on it behind the ballot after public hearings. There's not a whole lot more to say. All we're doing is bringing you the information that attorney after attorney are telling us. You know, and honestly, Ed, David, short of bringing them into one of these Zoom meetings, I mean, we've exhausted. You know, I keep calling them and asking them the same questions.
Yep.
Maybe it's a question.
Well, just give an answer then, Jen. What statute gives the selectmen, state statute and case law, gives the selectmen to change a town meeting form of government?
I just told you, it's section 2528.
It says authority.
It says in there that by order of the municipal officers or petition.
Fight it because you don't want the selectmen to do it.
So I'm going to step out. I've got a marriage license that have already been more than patient with me. So I'll let you guys do your thing. Ed, you give me any direction you have for me going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dennis?
Just a quick note on the article that Jen was quoting. That requires a public hearing in order to do that on what you propose to vote on. So we would have to have a public hearing, which amounts to a town meeting, in order to take this ballot, this vote by secret ballot. That's what the law is now. That's the existing law under Section 5.
And how do we do that with having?
That's a good question, Ed. That's a good question. That's what the question I would ask you.
Yeah, no.
But that's what the law requires.
Then how did we do the marijuana vote by secret ballot without having to go through that?
You had public hearings, Ed.
About the marijuana thing, but not about the vote.
Can I interject?
Go ahead. Well, Dennis's meeting.
Go ahead, Roland.
I was pretty against this. I didn't realize that the selectmen had the authority, had the law in front of me. And the only stipulation in there that I see, and obviously it's something that has been done in the past, is that the town as a whole had to agree with, just a moment, I want to make sure that I state it correctly.
I'm going to read from the law. It says municipal officers shall hold a public hearing on the subject of the articles and the articles in the referendum at least 10 days before the day of voting on the articles. At least 7 days before the date set for the hearing, the municipal officers shall give notice of a public hearing by having a copy of the proposed articles together with the time and the place of the hearing. That's what the law says. Now, I don't know that it's been amended, but the hearing amounts to the same thing as a town meeting.
Okay,
Dennis,
hold
I have
on.
a
Go ahead,
question.
Roland. Go ahead, Roland.
Tom, if you look at the beginning of that, and I don't mean that section, I mean look at the very beginning.
Right.
It basically says that the town has to agree to participate in secret ballot voting. Obviously, the town has agreed to participate in secret ballot voting because we've had secret ballots on many occasions. I'm not in support of the secret ballot. However, the precedent is there, obviously. Now, does it mean that the town the selectmen have to go out and ask the town, do you want to participate in a secret ballot of this warrant? No, I don't think that it's required. So you win, Ed.
Well, it's
I have a
not a
question.
win or lose. It's not a win or
Dennis,
lose.
I have a
Oh,
question.
Go ahead, Virginia.
Aside from the laws that Roland and Tom are looking at right now, it was my understanding that this state of emergency and the powers that have been given to the government to continue to function, those powers are good till 30 days after the governor declares the state of emergency over. So in this period of time of a state of emergency, doesn't there are rules and guidelines there that to me would supersede laws that are in place for normal existence, which we're not in?
That's what I would understand, and that's why we have the executive, why she comes out with the executive orders.
Yeah.
To clarify what we're doing what we need to do at the moment.
So I'm not sure we need to be looking at the laws that were in effect
No.
last January.
Right. No. I mean, we need to make it accessible to everybody that we can. We know we cannot be in the gymnasium at the school because you can't have any more than 50 in July. We don't know what August is going to bring. We don't know what, we've heard different things about this virus coming back in the fall. We don't know. They don't know either. But right now we have a window of opportunity to be able to do town business and continue on somewhat near, how we can do it. And to be able to have as many people in the town to be able to vote. What this is actually doing, we're going to be able to, she'll be able to send out, send out the ballots. Yeah, do the ballots at home, send them back in, like, the absentee ballots. I mean, in some ways, we're going to have more people voting in a town meeting than we've ever had in the past.
Maybe.
Past. So, but we still need to operate the town. That's the biggest thing. We need to keep the town going. We need to keep the budget going. We need to keep the income coming in. And as Michelle said, the bigger part of it is the income side, and as opposed to what we're spending. So in order to be able to commit taxes, we want to keep everything flatline. We've there was a number of things that we're hopefully going to move forward with this year, but that's all changed. We've chopped things down. So my hopes would be you folks look at the budget, look at the budget, look at the warrant, you go through it, you make your recommendations, and we move forward, and we have the election in July, and we can still operate the town.
Hoorah.
With that being said, Ed, the Warrant and Finance Committee is set up, at least its current one, that the Warrant and Finance Committee is a committee that makes all the decisions on how they're going to operate and how they're going to have meetings and when they're going to have meetings. We've all agreed to operate that way, and everybody's voice will be heard. And what I'll do is we can, if people want, we can set up another meeting and not talk about any warrant articles or whatever, but set up a budget timeline that the Warrant Finance Committee agrees to work with. I just, it's a short time, I feel myself, to be dealing with a couple $1 million.
7.
And to understand it all. We have no town report to look back on. We have no audit to look back on. And it's something that the committee's going to have to decide it. I'm not deciding that myself. All I did was express my feelings.
Can I express a comment when you're through?
And I don't agree with doing away with the town meeting form of government. We could have earthquake tomorrow, and we all end up in China. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I just don't agree with doing away with the town meeting form of government, and that's my opinion. And we'll have this discussion next week if the committee wants to. Go ahead.
How will the articles in the warrant be able to be amended?
They won't be.
They can't.
So the voice of the people is out.
Right.
You either vote yes or no.
Right.
With no discussion.
Right.
Your discussion is supposed to take place during public hearing, and that's the only place that you're going to be able to have a discussion.
That would be correct if we were to go this route. We have to have a public hearing, which amounts to the same thing as having a town meeting.
Hold up, guys. Virginia has the floor.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my thought was, the rules that we developed for warrant and finance operational rules, I think we can't stand pat on that. We have to be flexible. Those rules were developed, how we were going to operate, before we found ourselves in the middle of this virus.
Yeah.
So I think everything changes. Everything we do, everything we want to do. We can't stand and look at law books that were printed even 2 years ago. It's a new ball game. And until this virus, till this state of emergency is over, we need to be more flexible. That's it.
All I'm saying is, Virginia, I think it's something the committee needs to decide as a whole. I mean, if you guys would rather, I'll set the schedule, and that's the way it is. I mean, it's up to the committee how they want to operate.
Mr. Chairman?
Can I make a suggestion? This Dave Winchell, I'd like to make a suggestion.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'd like to put it to a vote. Let's have another one of these Zoom things. Look at our budget and get it done instead of talking about all these special ways we have to do things. It's just ridiculous. I voted on 3 things on this stinking meeting since I've been on this board that amounted to something. And the rest of it was all, we've got to do this, we've got to have this procedure, that procedure. It's just gone too far. We're in a position, look at the money the government is passing out for people that can't go to work. And we're worried about changing the budget. Let's do a vote.
Make a motion.
Anything on this on Zoom? How hard is it? Look at your budget, what we got, the warrant, and if you got a problem with it, tell us.
I agree with David.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Yep. Michelle, Michelle's unmuted now. Do you have anything, Michelle, to add? I mean, as far as the budget and trying to get tax commitment and whatnot?
You know, the biggest concern that that we had was the fact that we budget revenues, and we budgeted a lot more revenues last year than we're going to be able to this year. And as far as a public hearing, it was my understanding that we are going to have 2 public hearings via Zoom, which is allowable by the executive order.
Thank you.
What do you do about the people that don't have that access, the public?
Dennis, can I make a suggestion? Not just an observation.
I was asking Michelle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, Michelle. What do you do about the people on the public hearings that don't have access through Zoom?
I believe Jennifer asked legal that question, and they said that it's really too bad.
Okay.
Basically tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why, if I can add, Dennis, we had talked about possibly doing an extra step, make sure that we didn't miss anybody, and do a mailing of some sort, you know, early on. Here's a mailing, these are the dates of the public hearings. If, you know, here's a draft warrant. If you have questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to see changed, and point out that the only things different in this warrant really essentially are extra paving money and a fire truck, that the salaries, that nothing else has changed. Here are all three selectmen's numbers, and if you need you need help getting to the public hearing, that they thought a mailing might pick up those other people. That was a thought.
Well, like I said, I'll do whatever the Warrant and Finance Committee wants to do, and we'll set up a meeting for next week, and to cover our 7 days that we need to have, right? Isn't that what it is, Ed?
I thought that we talked the other night about lessening that.
Can I make a motion, Dennis?
Maybe Jen could answer that.
Jennifer, did we change the 7 days to a shorter?
We didn't, but I would go out on a limb and ask you to, say you could do up to 5, and I trust the board will support it next Wednesday, because they know that they need to move forward with this warrant, so put me on the line.
You got 2 thumbs up on that right now. Dave agrees and I agree.
So would that give us a Monday meeting or not, Jen?
Let's see, so it's, what time is it now? It's 7 o'clock, so all of Thursday, all of Friday, all of Saturday, all of Sunday, all of Monday. Monday at 7 will be exactly 5, if you met at 7 on Monday. If I hang up and post it right now.
Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yes, and I would just make one observation. We're spinning our wheels here. We may be perfectly happy when we see the warrant. We don't know. We haven't seen it, so we have no way of knowing. And it's really hard to make a commitment when you haven't seen it.
Okay. All right, with you, Arnie?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how we could have what if we had a Zoom meeting with the 5 of us at the board at the town hall and everybody else Zooms in?
I don't know. That's a discussion we can have.
Monday. So we have this around a table that you can talk to people, and it's just so much easier. And
I'll have a discussion with Jen on that and see if that is.
You can check with legal. I mean, the idea though is that the public is going to participate, and all 5 of you would, or all 6 of you, however many, would still need some sort of device in front of you, so that you're zooming on that device so that the public can join that meeting. So even though you'd be talking to one another, you're still going to have to zoom on a device to make it a public meeting.
Right.
yeah,
If I could add 2 cents.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yep. Jen had mentioned earlier, though, anytime a committee gets together, it's a public meeting. So if if 5 or 7 of you are at the town hall, and even though you're trying to do it as a group there, and you're doing it via Zoom, it's a public meeting. You're all together as a public. So it has to be open to the public for someone to come in. We're much safer doing it this way.
we can do it at my house. I mean, you just have to move the venue. I mean, you're doing a Zoom. Everybody here is on Zoom from their private residence. So you could do it on Zoom, like she said. Everybody would have to have their own device.
But you have to stay 6 feet apart?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could stay 6 feet apart.
You have a majority together, it's a meeting. It must be open to the public.
I understand, and it is. It's right here. We're having a meeting right now, and it's right here. It's on Zoom.
But if you have a majority at your house, it's a public meeting.
I know, and they'll all be able to come in via Zoom.
No, but they want to come in your living room. They want to join you.
Occupancy permit, not allowed.
Okay. Do it. You can't do it. No. Let's just get to where we got to be. You got to look over the warrants. Please give us a recommendation on it. This works. Let's just move forward, folks.
Mr. Chairman,
We're going to have a meeting Monday at 7.
I must be muted.
No, you're not, Roland. I just made a statement. So Jen can get it posted.
Well, I was going to give you a motion that we could vote on and be done with this.
Really?
Hopefully.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we schedule a meeting for Monday, 6 PM via Zoom. And that gives us 3 or 4 days to, if we get the warrant in hand, as soon as Jennifer,
It will be emailed to you tonight, and hard copies will go out in tomorrow morning's mail.
and let's meet on Monday. That's my motion.
It has to be at 7. Jen,
7.
you just said it has to be at 7, so.
I don't think anybody's going to argue over an hour. If you want to do 6, it's not that big of a
Okay,
deal.
I'm just doing what you said, Jen.
No, I appreciate it.
You have a motion in front of you, Dennis.
All right. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second it.
I'll take a vote. Virginia,
I'm good.
Kicked out.
Paul,
I'm good.
Ani,
Yeah, good.
Tom, David,
Yep.
and I guess it's unanimous.
I vote yes as well.
I'm sorry. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Seconded.
And I gotta take a roll call on that?
Hey,
David?
No, unanimous consent.
Oh,
Yes.
unanimous consent. Okay.
Without
So done.
objection.
Without objection. All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. I
Thank you, Dennis.
appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Yeah.